Session 25, the voice that builds speaking life into your financial future. Welcome to Session 25. I am Rich Abbott. This is the Steward's Mind, the final session of Week 5 and the final session before Week 6, the last week of this 30-day journey. We are close to the end, and I want to say something before we get into the content of this session. You have done significant work. 25 sessions of interior renovation, identity, heart, mind, hand, voice. That is not a casual undertaking. Most people never do this work at all. They live their entire financial lives on autopilot. The inherited beliefs running the thermostat, the reflexive language planting the same seeds season after season, the narrative confirming itself year after year. You chose differently. You showed up for this. And what has been built in here, in the lev and the nous and the daily practices, is real. It may not all be visible yet in the bank account or the income statement. Renovation takes time. The foundation goes in before the walls, but the foundation is there. Today we close Week 5 by looking at the most powerful expression of the financial voice. Not the individual declarations, not the vocabulary replacements, not the narrative rewrite, but the integrated, ongoing practice of a person who has made the voice of a steward their permanent financial vocabulary. Part 1. The voice that has been renewed. In Week 1, we talked about identity. In Week 2, we talked about the heart. In Week 3, we talked about the mind. In Week 4, we talked about the hand. In each of those weeks, we were building a different dimension of the same person, the renewed steward. And the voice is where all of those dimensions come together and become audible. The person who knows their identity as a steward speaks differently about money. The person who has guarded the lev and renewed the lev speaks differently about money. The person who has been transformed by the renewing of the nous speaks differently about money. The person who earns with diligence, spends with intention, gives with cheerfulness, saves with foresight, and invests with faithfulness. That person's financial vocabulary is a direct expression of a transformed interior. The voice is the outward expression of the inward work. You cannot fully change the voice without changing the interior. But you also cannot fully change the interior without changing the voice. They are in a feedback loop. And Week 5 has been about making the loop deliberate, choosing what the voice speaks so that the interior continues to be renewed. Part 2. The voice in community. I want to raise something that does not get enough attention in individual financial transformation conversations. The voice does not only speak to yourself. The voice speaks in community. And the community you speak in, the financial vocabulary of the people around you, the narratives being told in your closest relationships, either supports the renewal or works against it. If you are surrounded by people whose primary financial vocabulary is scarcity, complaint, and limitation, people who consistently speak the death seeds of I can never get ahead, money is always tight, the system is rigged, that vocabulary is applying pressure to your lev every time you are in their presence. Even when you have done the work, Even when the new pathways are being built, the environment continues to sow. This is not a reason to abandon relationships, but it is a reason to be intentional about what voices you allow to have disproportionate access to your lev. The gatekeeping practice we established in Session 9 applies here. You are not only guarding against your own internal scarcity language, you are guarding against the scarcity language of the environment. And conversely, if you can find even one or two people who are speaking the language of stewardship, of growth, of trajectory, of faithful building, the value of that community is extraordinary. You are not just getting information or accountability. You are bathing your lev in an environment of life-speaking language. And that environment is one of the most powerful accelerants of renewal available. Part 3, Speaking Life to Others. The renewed steward does not only change their own financial vocabulary, they become a source of life-speaking language for others. The person who says to a struggling friend, "You are not your circumstances, you are someone who is learning and growing." The person who speaks trajectory into the life of someone who has only ever been spoken to in limitation. The person who refuses to agree with the financial death narrative of someone they love and instead says, "I see something different for you." This is not toxic positivity. It is not pretending that difficulty is not real. It is being the kind of voice in someone else's life that perhaps no one was in yours. It is the steward using the voice as an instrument of life, not only for their own financial renewal, but for the renewal of the people around them. Proverbs 18 verse 21 says, "Those who love the tongue will eat its fruit." The implication is that the tongue's fruit is not only for the speaker. When you speak life into your own financial narrative and into the narrative of others, the fruit is available to more than one table. Part 4, the integrated voice. What does the integrated voice of a renewed steward sound like in daily life? Let me paint the picture. When money is tight, the renewed steward does not say money is always tight. They say, "I am working on increasing the margin. I know where I am going, and this is a season, not a destination." When an opportunity arises that feels beyond current capacity, the renewed steward does not say that this is not for someone like me. They say, "What would faithful stewardship look like here? What is the wise next step?" When someone asks about their financial situation, the renewed steward does not rehearse the old narrative of limitation and struggle. They say, "I am building something. It is taking time and intention, but I am building." When a financial setback happens, and setbacks happen, the renewed steward does not say, "See, this always happens." They say, "This is a problem to solve. I know who I am. I know what I am building. I recalibrate and continue." When they give, they do not say, "I hope I can afford this." They say, "I give from an open hand. God is the source. My generosity is an expression of my identity." This is what the integrated voice sounds like. Not perfect, not without moments of slipping back into the old vocabulary, but consistently, deliberately, as a practice posture, life over death. Trajectory over circumstances, steward over victim. Part 5, your Week 5 declaration. This is the Week 5 declaration in full. Read it first, then say it with me. My voice is an instrument of life, for my own financial renewal and for the people around me. I have conducted the vocabulary audit. I know what I have been planting. I replace scarcity language with trajectory language. I replace deficit identity with steward identity. I replace theological passivity with faithful action. I speak my declarations daily, aloud, consistently, even when they feel empty. I rewrite the narrative, not by denying the past, but by refusing to let it write the future. My tongue plants life, and I will eat that fruit. Looking ahead to Week 6. Week 6 is the final week of the steward's mind. The theme is the legacy. What the renewed steward leaves behind, not only financially, but in character, in culture, in the transmission of a renewed lev to the next generation. We have done the interior work. We have changed the hand. We have changed the voice. In Week 6, we look at the horizon, the long view, the generational perspective, and the question that brings everything together. What are you building, and for whom? You are 25 sessions in. 1 week to go. Keep going. Closing declaration. Say this. I am a steward with a renewed voice. I speak life over my financial situation every day, deliberately, without apology. I am not the same person who started this journey 25 sessions ago. The interior has been renovated, the voice has been changed, and the fruit that grows from the seeds I am now planting, that fruit is coming. I am just getting started. This is Rich Abbott. Week 5 is complete. I will meet you in session 26 for the start of Week 6, the legacy. Free Money Mindset Guide can be found at richabbott.com/guide.